My name is Audrey.
My name is Daniel.
My name is Neta.
And my name is Gilbert, and we are the Imposter.
Okay, so today's topic we are going to be discussing about intercultural communication, which, as you can guess it, is about communication in between cultures. So, first of all, before we start, I want to ask you guys, Vanessa, what do you think is the importance of intercultural communication? Do you think it's important and why?
Mm, yeah, for me personally, yes. The intercultural communication is important, especially when you want to go like study abroad, or if you don't study abroad, yeah, it's still important to know like the culture of other country, and it can also make you more insightful.
Yes, I definitely agree. In order to go abroad, you need to at least know the few basics so you can, have a great trip. What about you, Danjo? Do you think it's
For
important?
me, in my opinion, intercultural communication is important thing to learn, especially if you don't learn the other culture communication. It can cause ambiguity between each culture. For me, not just in the overseas country. As you can see, Indonesia is a big country with different culture. Nah, with these many cultures, it can cause ambiguity. So it's just not in the other country, but in Indonesia personally, it can cause ambiguity. Yeah.
Definitely. Like, we need to do well in intercultural communication so that no miscommunication will ever happen. What about you, Gilbert? Do you think it's important?
I think it is very important too because intercultural communication is needed when we are vacation or continuing our studies in another country. By studying in the culture in that place, we have shown respect in the local community and we can reduce the occurrence of the culture shock.
Definitely, yes. Like, it's really important because, as Gilbert said, we don't want any of the culture shock. So, yeah, learn about intercultural communication and do your research. According to me personally, I also think it's important because it increases understanding and it eliminates all of the language barriers and the stereotypes that the society has built over these past few years. So, the next question: have you guys ever been in a situation where you were required to adapt to a different culture communication? What about you, Gilbert?
So I have to experience culture shock. The first, I was on vacation in Japan when my family and I going for immigration. Suddenly my mother grabbed me and suddenly the immigration face turned into angry face. And in Japan, there are also many grandparents who still work on malls, airport, and restaurant. And it's different in Indonesia.
Yeah, definitely. Like, as you guys have heard it from Gilbert himself, there are, culture shocks that can happen because, all of us are really diverse in our own ways. What about you, Vanessa? Have you ever experienced culture shock like Gilbert?
Okay, so if Gilbert experienced his culture shock in Japan, so I also have experienced my culture shock in Hong Kong. So I went there for a holiday and I went to like a lot of mall and a lot of public transportation places. And yeah, in every escalator in public places, they separate the escalator into two parts. So if you are in a hurry and you have to walk along the escalator, you should choose the left side. But if you just want to stay in the escalator and not having something in a hurry, yeah, you should stay in the right side. And we don't having it in Indonesia. In Indonesia, if you are in a hurry, you have to say excuse me to the person in front of you so that you can pass along the escalator.
Yeah, I've experienced that similar situation too. And I think it's genuinely a brilliant idea, to help make space for other people. What about you, Daniel?
For me personally, I have a different experience between Vanessa and Gilbert. When they told their experience in the other country, I want to tell my recently experience between in Surabaya and Jakarta. So recently, I have the culture shock because in Surabaya, the way we communicate with the others, we use word aku and kamu, which means me and you. But when I went to Jakarta and Tangerang, uh, those two words, I feel it very strange with those two words because uh, in the daily conversation they use gua and lu, and I still not familiar with these two words, and uh, a few months ago I feel the culture shock with that. But in time I can manage it, and I want to share my experience in Japan, like Gilbert. In Indonesia, when you give some tips to other people, whether in supermarket or in the restaurant or in many places or in other places, Indonesian people will give it as a compliment or as thankful or something like that. But when in Japan, if you buy something, let's say 95,000, and you give 100,000, and you say keep the change, the Japan person will not tolerate it because they think it's not polite to give more money than the things is value. So I think it's very different perspective between Indonesia and Japan, like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And from all of these conversations that we've had, we also, I guess, had another point of why it's important because we need to respect each culture and we need to know, which one is considered a disrespect for others. And also, of course, as Daniel said, about formal and informal way of speech. So the next thing I would like to highlight on is Indonesian culture. We're all Indonesian here. What do you guys think is the most distinct Indonesian culture? What about you, Gilbert?
So I have seen a lot of cultural shock in Indonesia, like Boti, Bonceng Tiga, Indonesia. Usually, girls are called cabe-cabean and guys called terong-terongan. Then mother, when riding a motorcycle, they have right turn signals, but they turn left. And then Indonesian people feel that they are not fully when they don't eat rice. Yeah.
Yes, that is definitely one distinct thing about us Indonesians. Rice is a huge, important component in our meal, and we literally cannot live without it. What about you, Daniel?
For me personally, since I lived in Indonesia 18 years ago, I can see that Indonesian major of people is Muslim and Javanese people, right? And I see that Indonesian has intention when meeting someone. They have some greeting manners. So when you come to the other person place or the other person house, the younger people should grab the other older people hands like this, and you hold it, and you put the outer palm of his or her hands into your forehead like this. It's called salim. Yeah, it's like Indonesian culture of greetings. So I think outsider or foreigners have to learn these types of manners.
Yes, that is also another fact about the Indonesian culture. We have this thing called salim, and it's very important because if you're younger than someone, that's what you're supposed to do to greet them. It's as if it's a form of formal handshake. So, last but not least, what about you, Panetta?
Okay, so yeah, Indonesian people is very nice, and like they like to greet the foreigner who came to Indonesia, and maybe like some of the foreigner feel uncomfortable because in their country, a smile to the stranger means that you have a strange feeling for them like that. And I think that yeah, it's just like different lah from the other countries, that Indonesia is unique.
I agree with that. We are unique in our own way.
And Audrey, what about you? Your opinion?
Definitely one of the things that I think affects me a lot is the hours that us Indonesians put in. Like, for example, in USA, they start school at, say, about 8, 9 a.m. And us, we have to go to school really early, which is, 6, 7, and that can be very draining, I think.
Yeah, like some of international school in Indonesia have adapt that kind of time system. So you go to school at 8, and the other school like you go to school at 6. Like Indonesia have already adapt the international system.
Definitely, which is a great thing. I'm very grateful for that. Okay, so the last thing that I want to ask you guys, we have foreigners coming in and out of this country, and to you guys who's watching, maybe if you're a foreigner and you would want to know, like, how do I blend in? How do I respect your culture? So maybe you guys can, give them some tips. What about you, Daniel?
In my point of view, for those who wants to visit Indonesia, especially foreigners, especially in the Europe or someone who are not from Asian, I think my advice for them is don't think Indonesia is like your country, because it's totally different. Yeah, what do you think about Indonesia is totally different. So what do you think is A, it turns out to become Z, so it's totally different. It's like upside down. Yeah, it's totally different. And I think before you go to Indonesia, you should learn something about it first, because if you are not learn it first, I think you won't survive in Indonesia well. So I mean it. So you have to learn the culture of Indonesian and the other Asian culture first. Yeah, that's my advice.
Definitely, that's a great tip. Before you go anywhere, do your research just to, prevent any complications in your trip. How about you, Vanetta?
Okay, so as I said before, that Indonesian people like to smile to a stranger because it's like their affection to the other people. And tip for you guys, foreigner who want to travel in Indonesia, please don't feel like you are being catcalled. So don't feel strange when someone smile at you, because it's just like affection. Yeah, like that.
And that we have another great tip from Vanetta. What about you, Gilbert? What tips do you have?
So the tips that I can give for foreigners who are coming to Indonesia is they are trying to greetings and excuse in bahasa like selamat pagi, selamat siang, or selamat malam. So that makes Indonesian people more respect and maybe can help you.
Definitely. That is a great advice. If you want to go here, learn a few of our words. We would find that, very cool. And I guess in a way we'll be more welcome. So, yeah, for me, my advice to you guys is if you're going to visit anyone's home, take your shoes off. That's the polite way to do things around here. And, if you want to point at something or someone, use your thumb instead of your index finger, because then, we can think that you're accusing someone and it's considered rude here. And also, bring change if you want to use the facilities like the restroom, the public restroom. Bring your change, because sometimes they might charge you. And yeah, so that is it for our discussion today. We really hope that you guys had a lot of fun and also gained a lot of insight from us. And yeah, like, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
Bye.